Hey everybody, and welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room, sponsored by Games and Couple, which is part of Oshrat Online Counseling. I'll have their link below me. Be sure to check them out. They do amazing thing, concentrate on couple counseling, utilizing board game as a tool, because they discovered that board games, especially cooperative play, was a great way to put the Goffman principle into practice in their couple counseling. So, as I mentioned, the links will be down below. Be sure to check them out. So today I am going to be showing you Holotype. This is a game that I purchased when I was at Gobfest, and I purchased it from Pe Metawe. And I know that after we played this yesterday, my friend went on the Pe Metawe website and purchased her own copy. So they still have a copy of this game there. It's possible that other game store have it as well. So you may want to check it out if you are interested in getting yourself your own copy of this. So Holotype Mesozoic North America is a dinosaur game, and it's worker placement. And I would say by far this has been the game that has been the most instructional or realistic when it comes to a dinosaur game. I ended up playing this with my friend and her son, who is actually planning on going to school to become a paleontologist, which is what this game is all about. So he absolutely loved it. And as I said, they purchased their own copy after the first play. So this was a really great game. So I'm going to show you how I have it set up here right now. I have it set up for a 2-player game. There are multiple boards, and the boards are double-sided depending on the number of players. So you would select a proper board that you need, as well as the field advancement track. It'll indicate on the side here how many players this is for. The other side, you'll notice, is for 3. So we have it on 2 players here, and then you have this little dinosaur marker that keeps track of this. The game is going to end in 2 ways. If this ever reaches the end, or if 2 of the global objective cards are completely covered up. So you'll notice there's 3 options here that can be covered up. So when 2 cards in a 2-player game, or 3 cards in a 3-player game, and so on, this game will play up to 5. So keep that in mind. And right now, as I said, it's set up for 2. So we have the field expedition, that is cards that are set up here. These ones is how you're going to collect fossils. We have trace fossils, and these are going to come up on the field expedition cards. They'll sometimes have the paw symbol here that'll indicate you take one of these cards. They cannot be attached to a water or a marine dinosaur, marine fossil, because the marine dinosaurs didn't leave any trace behind. So that's very interesting. And then you have your specimen cards that every time you go to the specimen lab, you're going to get. And this is where this game shines. Like, this is so amazing. If you notice, you'll have like the information that is on here. So it shows the dinosaur's name, the nickname that it was given, as well as when it was discovered and who discovered it, and some information on the bottom here. If it was the Triassic era, the Cretaceous era, or the blue one is the Jurassic era. And as I mentioned, my friend's son was really blown away at how accurate everything was in this game. So that's great. You're going to start with 2 personal objectives as well, and you're going to pick which one you want to do. On the bottom here, it shows how many cards is going to help towards your objective. So this one, 2/3 of the cards will be helpful. Well, this one, only 1/3 of the cards will be helpful. So keep that in mind when you're selecting what objective you want to be working on. You would pick one, the other one gets discarded. So, and you have your player board. This is a worker placement. You start with your paleontologist, and you have also a field assistant. And there is also a grad student, which doesn't get unlocked until you've published your research 3 times. So once you've done 3 publishing, then the grad student will become available. Your research tokens will all come into this area here, and I'll show you what it looks like on another one. So the research token all goes in here, and then over here you have the amount of room available for fossils. So you have room for 8. Eventually you can unlock extra storage and you could have up to 12, but to start with you only have room for 8. And at the bottom here, this is covered up right now, but every time you complete one of the global objective, you're going to remove one of these discs to show that it's been completed, and it's going to reveal a score here. So the more you reveal, the higher the score is going to be. So that's another way that will score points. Just keep that in mind. In the museum location, we have some fossils to start with. So you get 1 Triassic fossil, 2 Jurassic fossil, and 3 Cretaceous fossils that are available. And I'll go over the different locations and what each one do. So each location have a paleontologist or grad student action, which is always a little bit more powerful than if you send your field's assistant. So the field assistant can do some action, but he's not quite as powerful. The field assistant, however, can never go to do publishing journals. So he cannot do that action, but he can do everything else. So if you go to the field expedition, you're going to collect with your paleontologist, you would collect 2 field expedition cards and you would discard 1. So you would get to decide which one you want to activate. So if you notice, this one will allow you to roll 2 I can't remember the name, Cretaceous fossils. So you would roll 2 of those dice and it would give you one of the trace cards, while this one would be 4 Jurassic fossil dice. So let's say that we ended up doing the fossil dice. So we would discard this one and we would roll these 4 dice. And depending on what we roll, what you would get. So this one will give you 3 fossils. This one gives you 2. So I'm doing pretty good right now. If I ever get the museum, that means I get a fossil from the museum and not just from the supply. Now, if that particular fossil is not available in the museum, you don't get it. So hopefully it is there. So in this case, I would have collected, I don't know what it was, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I would collect 10. I can't take all 10 because I only have room for 8. Any extra fossils would then go into the museum. So I would basically fill pretty much everything I have here, and 2 of them would go in the museum, so there would be more fossils in the museum. I don't know if I even grabbed enough here. I did not. I'm too short, but we'll just assume that I did. So at some point as well, you'll draw the erosion event. Now, if you had drawn 2, you have the option of still discarding the erosion event. Otherwise, this one allows you to do another action, but not the field expedition action. And after this one is revealed, you then shuffle all of the field expedition and you start with a new pack ready to go. And that's how that deck stays accurate and shuffled. The trace fossils that we would get will have different things. So this one is coprolite, or, fancy word for poop. So this just means you found poop or eggs, or there'll be different things. There'll be amber, like a different fossil that you kind of locate that you can attach onto the dinosaurs you would do your research on. It would cost a fossil matching the fossil that you need to pay for your dinosaur, and you would get to tack this on, and it would give you a bonus 2 victory points. As it mentions here, you cannot attach these to the marine dinosaur, the marine fossils. So that's good to know. With the specimen here, so this one indicates that you need 3 Cretaceous fossils and 5 research in order to be able to do your publishing on this holotype. So if you're going to be doing that, you would need to collect the research token as well as the necessary fossils. Right now I have all Jurassic fossil, so I would not be able to do any research document or publish any research on this one. So that one wouldn't be very helpful to me. You do start with 3 of these in your hand, so you would have some option. So that's if you go to the specimen lab. Now, when you go to the specimen lab and you would draw these specimen cards, you would take 3 and discard 1 if you go with your paleontologist, or you have the option of taking the card that is in the discard pile, or you also have the option of discarding some of the cards from your hand. And the reason you would want to discard is because if these are in your hand when the game is over, any research amount is going to be -5 points. So if you don't do this, you'd end up not publishing this holotype. This one would count for -5 points unless you have it discard. So you would want to either discard it or make sure that it gets published. Then if you go to the museum, at the museum it allows you to do 2 things. You can trade fossils. Now the purple ones are more rare. So for 2 Jurassic fossils, you could trade for 1 purple, or for 3 Cretaceous fossils, you could get 1 of the purple one as well. So there's a different ratio of what you can trade. You can also sell your fossils for research, and you would put the fossil and trade for research. So 1 purple would give you 2 research, 1 Jurassic would give you 1, and 2 Cretaceous would give you 1 research as well. So that's one way to be able to get research or to trade for fossils. You can also go to the university library, and this would allow you to do some research and give you some research cubes. So if it's the paleontologist that goes there, you would get 3. If it's the your aide, then you would get 2. So if you ever want to go to a location and somebody is already there, so if it's the paleontologist, you would need to send a paleontologist at that location and you can bump him out. If it was the field aide, you can bump it out with a paleontologist or with another field aide or even with a grad student, but you cannot replace a paleontologist with a field aide. They don't have the power to be able to do that. So there's a what do they call it? They call it hierarchy that you gotta follow. So the hierarchy rule. So that's something that you gotta keep in mind, because if you get bumped out, that's great. Your worker comes back to you and you can place them again. If they don't get bumped out, then that means if all your workers on the board, you're going to have to recall them for 1 turn in order to be able to do more things. Now, when you recall your worker, you do get 1 research token, so it's not complete waste. On the field advancement track, so every time you research a holotype that you publish, you will move this over by 1. Some of them will have symbols. So the star symbol here will give you the chance to add an ability, and everybody will get to do that at the same time. So you could add extra storage, for example. Or you can add that when you go to an expedition and you're collecting fossils, you get 1 extra fossil. Or you could do that when you recall, you would get an extra research of instead of just the 1 research, and so on. There'll be 4 of them that'll come up. So that's great. As you game progress, you'll get different abilities, and people choose different things, so everybody's ability is a little bit different. There's also the recycle token icon that might come up from time to time, and when that comes up, it recycles and resets the fossils available in the museum, which is good because the purple one disappears quickly because it's so hard to get a hold of. So it would reset then to 1 purple, 2 Jurassic, 2 blue one, and 3 green ones. So then it resets all the... So if you had a lot of different, like they go back into the supply, and in this case, these 2 would go back, and we'd be back at the beginning amount of fossils in the museum. So that's what this does. I really enjoy this game. I haven't really talked a lot about these ones yet, but what happens with these one is you would go to do the publishing journal, and if you had, in this case, 4 Triassic holotypes that you had published, you could put your token here and claim that that space. Only you can do that. Once there's a token there, nobody else can go there. And the benefit of that is that you are revealing victory points here. If you do it a second time, now we're at 11 points. A third time, you're at 18, and so on. So the more of these research or global goals that you do, the more points they're going to be worth. Now, if you do it utilizing all of your own research, it doesn't cost you anything. But if there are 4 Triassic holotypes on the table, 3 of them is yours, and 1 of them is somebody else's, and you're going to need to spend 5 research in order to borrow somebody else's research, technically, in order to complete this goal. So as soon as somebody else has one, it's kind of a race to be the first one to get there. So really interesting. As I mentioned, once 2 of those cards are completely filled, that also triggers the end of the game. When you end the game, you will tally up all the victory points that you have for your holotype, as well as all the extra trace points that you might have collected, and any global objective points that you have received, plus your personal objective points that you might have collected as well, minus your unpublished cards that may still be in your hand. The total of those, what are they called? Research value. So that minus that. If there's a tie, whoever has the most research available is the winner. So that's the tiebreaker. The copy I have came with also the pterosaur mini expansion, so it just adds a flying dinosaur as well. I was really impressed with this. It's a simple game. It's very easy to play. It's collecting the resources so that you can complete the different contract. But just the attention to details that is in here was so cool. And I quite enjoy my play of it. So if you've had a chance to play this, I would love to know what you thought of it. If you are a big dinosaur fan, I highly recommend you check this one out. And if you're wanting and looking for this game, as I mentioned, check out Pe Metawe in Edmonton, and they do have an online store as well, because I know they still had stock as of yesterday. So thanks so much for tuning in. Bye, everybody.